The city of New York was drowning in lights that shimmered like fallen stars, reflecting off the wet pavement after an evening drizzle. Inside St. Helena Hospital, Dr. Emily Carter rubbed the back of her neck, exhaustion etched into every movement. The day had been long. Emergency surgeries, endless paperwork, and the constant hum of life and death decisions that never seemed to pause. Her lab coat carried the faint scent of antiseptic, and her ponytail was loose from the day's chaos. She was ready to leave when a voice behind her called her name, deep and commanding, stopping her in her tracks. "Dr. Carter?" The man's voice held a kind of urgency that instantly drew her attention. Turning around, she saw him standing there, Ethan Blake, the CEO of Blake Pharmaceuticals. His reputation preceded him, ruthless in business, calculating in negotiations, yet undeniably magnetic. He was taller than she expected, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit that looked as though it had been sewn directly onto him. His hair was slightly tousled, and his eyes, a sharp shade of grey, flickered with something uncharacteristic, nervousness, maybe even desperation. "Mr. Blake," Emily greeted cautiously, straightening her posture. "This is unexpected. What brings you here at this hour?" She tried to sound composed, but it wasn't every day that a billionaire CEO showed up at her hospital looking like he was about to fall apart. He glanced around as if making sure no one else could overhear them, and then stepped closer. His voice dropped barely above a whisper. "I need your help, Dr. Carter, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't urgent." The way he said it sent a chill down her spine, the kind that hinted at secrets too heavy to carry. "Is someone hurt?" she asked immediately, her professional instincts kicking in. "Do you need medical attention?" He shook his head, exhaling slowly. "No, not that kind of help. This is personal." The pause that followed stretched long enough for her curiosity to grow sharper. "Go on," she said, crossing her arms. Ethan's jaw tightened before he finally spoke the words that made her blink twice, sure she had misheard. "I need you to pretend to be my wife. For 1 week." The silence that followed was heavy enough to make the hum of the fluorescent lights sound deafening. Emily stared at him, certain this was some kind of elaborate joke. "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" she asked, her voice caught between disbelief and irritation. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated but determined. "My grandmother is in critical condition. She's 83, and she raised me after my parents died. She's always believed I was married. She even thinks she's met my wife before. But it was a lie I told years ago to keep her happy. Now she's asked to see my wife before her surgery tomorrow. If I don't bring her, she'll know I lied. And I can't do that to her, not when she might not survive." For a long moment, Emily said nothing. She searched his face, trying to find any hint that this was a setup, a publicity stunt, anything but what it sounded like. "You want me, a doctor you barely know, to pretend to be your wife, for a lie you created?" she asked finally. Ethan nodded. "Just for a week. Long enough to get through the surgery and her recovery. After that, you'll never have to see me again. I'll compensate you generously. You can name your price." His tone was businesslike now, the CEO returning to his natural role. But Emily could see the sincerity buried underneath. She let out a slow breath, glancing toward the hospital hallway as if searching for an escape. "Mr. Blake, I don't know what kind of people you usually deal with, but I'm not an actress, and I don't do fake relationships." Her words were sharp, but something about his expression stopped her from walking away. Ethan stepped closer, his voice softening. "I know how it sounds, but she's everything to me. She's the reason I built my company. I just can't let her last moments be filled with disappointment and betrayal." There was something raw in his tone that made Emily's chest tighten against her will. She looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, she saw past the tailored suit and cold exterior. There was vulnerability there, something almost fragile. Against her better judgment, she found herself asking, "Why me?" Ethan hesitated before replying. "You treated her last month. She adored you. She already believes you're my wife. She saw your picture in a newspaper article about our hospital partnership and just assumed." I didn't correct her. It seemed harmless at the time. Emily let out a disbelieving laugh. So you let your grandmother believe I'm your wife because of a misunderstanding? And now you're here asking me to make it real? Yes, he admitted simply, his grey eyes holding hers. And please, Dr. Carter, I'm out of options. There was no arrogance in his voice now, just quiet desperation. Emily rubbed her temples, torn between disbelief and sympathy. She had seen all kinds of requests in her medical career, but never one like this. And yet, a small voice in her head reminded her of her own struggles, her sister's looming college tuition, the endless bills that came with living alone in the city, and the crushing weight of responsibility she carried on her shoulders every day. Maybe, just maybe, this ridiculous proposition could solve more than one problem. After what felt like an eternity, she finally spoke. "All right," she said quietly, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'll do it. But only for 1 week and on my terms. No media, no photos, no business deals tied to this. And the moment your grandmother's well, it's over." Ethan's expression softened with visible relief. "You have my word," he said, extending his hand. No strings attached. Emily hesitated before taking it, her fingers brushing against his, the warmth of his touch sending an unexpected spark through her. "I hope you know what you're doing, Mr. Blake," she murmured. "Ethan," he corrected gently. "If we're going to do this, you might as well start calling me Ethan." She gave a faint, reluctant smile. "Fine, Ethan, but this stays professional." "Of course," he said, though the flicker in his eyes suggested he wasn't entirely sure he could keep that promise. As he turned to leave, Emily exhaled slowly, trying to steady herself. She'd just agreed to the strangest deal of her life. Pretend wife to a billionaire. It sounded like something out of a bad romantic movie. And yet, deep down, something told her this arrangement was going to change everything. Outside the hospital, the city lights reflected off Ethan's car as he opened the door. For the first time in years, he felt a glimmer of hope that things might actually go right, even if it was built on a lie. Meanwhile, Emily watched him drive away through the glass doors, her heart thudding faster than she wanted to admit. Tomorrow, she would step into a world of wealth, secrets, and emotions she wasn't prepared for. She told herself it was just a favor, just 1 week. But deep down, she already knew that pretending to be Ethan Blake's wife was about to become the most real thing she had ever done.